We're at Duff's Brooklyn, which is the heaviest bar in America, and it's Saturday night, so that metal show is on, and so yeah, Saturday's a very metal evening for us.
And today you had a Ronnie James Dio tribute because we lost our brother last Sunday. And I mean, one of the things, because the Revolving God Awards just happened tonight, one of the most special moments for all of us was seeing Dio for that one last time, but flourishing. He was still flourishing, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, Ronnie definitely went out on a high note, whether it was just getting the accolades from the fans at the Golden Gods Awards, because people went crazy when he walked out on stage. Everyone knew of his illness, but as a performer, he also went out on top. You know, I was lucky enough to introduce Heaven and Hell at the WAMU Theater here in New York, below Madison Square Garden, Eddie Trunk and myself, and got to watch Ronnie once again perform at just the highest level possible. And, you know, he went out on a high note in every way, shape, or form, as a performer, as a person, and people love him, and he'll definitely, obviously, he'll be missed.
What I think about Ronnie James Dio, I mean, I saw him with Heaven and Hell, and the one time I saw him, the reason why I went is just like, I got to go see Dio. You know, I never had the chance to see him with Dio or the Rainbow or with Elf, but I was like, I gotta go see Dio. And just as a fan, you know, sitting in Jones Beach, this was like a couple years ago when they played with Quincy, Alice Cooper, another big legend. And to me, it was just like, this is so real. This is like, this guy just feeds the crowd in such a genuine way. When people say like Ozzy or Dio, it's like, no, both. You know, you don't do a comparison like that. You don't put them together as far like against each other. They're together because they're godfathers of the music we love. Ozzy's obviously the main motherfucker, but Dio, I see him as like a father figure.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you know, I don't try to compare Ozzy and Dio, you know, because, you know, when I was young, I was into Sabbath and I was into Ozzy. And then this guy, Ronnie James Dio, comes along. And I'm like, who's this guy taking Ozzy's place, you know? You get to, sometimes you're a little bit of a snob, you know? But then I heard Heaven and Hell, and I was like, oh, man, this is crazy. I mean, that album and still to this day, is so mind-blowing. And, you know, as far as seeing Ronnie live, you know, you were lucky enough to see him. I've seen him a million times, and it's the same thing every time. Gives 100%, never a bad show. The guy cares. He always cared. He cared for his fans, and that's why you see everyone giving the love back now, because we all care about him, and we love him, and thank God he's left us so much great music to listen to.
It goes beyond words. The fact that he was in the cancer treatment in Houston, and he flew all the way to LA to be with all his metal brothers, Ozzy, Lemmy, you guys from the metal show, Jose from Sirius XM, the guys from Revolver, Brandon and Josh, Lana, the whole crew who threw all this show together. And I think it wouldn't have been a better platform for Ronnie James Dio to say, you know what, you know, in the back of his mind, you know, you have cancer or any disease, terminal disease like that, you're going to be thinking, you know, this might be the last one, but I'm going to make it count. I'm going to go out there, have a good time, meet all my brothers, my sisters. And that's, you know, that's what's so beautiful about the music we love, that we all come together as brothers and sisters. And it's not about like, oh, what you're wearing, what you look like, da-da-da, I mean, he proved that, you know, he's always going to be remembered for his music first and foremost. But I think the fact that he went to this award show when he was at his weakest point, which he didn't portray that to anybody.
No. Well, that's exactly what Ronnie was always about. You know, Halford told us a great story, you know, off camera, and he said, look, he goes, when I saw Ronnie at the Golden Gods, he came up to me and said, Rob, how are you doing? How you been? Like nothing else was going on. And that's what Ronnie was about. He always wanted you to feel good. He never wanted to be about him. He always said, how are you doing? What's new with you? You know, even when he was going through the hardest point of his life, it was always about, how are you doing? You know, and that's the kind of guy he was. He wasn't a selfish guy. He was just a giving, loving guy. And, you know, and in the bigger picture, if we're going to talk about the Golden Gods, it's like, thank God somebody did create an award show for the metal crowd. Revolver has taken this on themselves, and they've done a great job with it. And yes, obviously, it was a great vehicle for Ronnie to finally to be recognized, to be seen for the last time publicly, and again, just a great way for him, to go out. And obviously, we're sad to see him go, but I'm glad he got to be with his peers again and with the fans and get his final due, And I don't know, man. I'm just, I'm pretty torn up about it, We've had a rough year, man. I mean, Pete still going, and now Ronnie, and obviously, before we were doing that metal show, Dimebag, who I was extremely privileged to have been friends with for a short time before he died. But we always have the Dimebag guitar in the set, yes. And we always will for as long as we do the show, because we love you, brother. Obviously, his contribution to music cannot even be disputed in any way, but the common thread with him and Pete and Ronnie is they were great people. Above all else, they were great people. So I hope that the bands coming up take an example from that. You know what I mean? Ronnie, if Ronnie didn't see you for 15 years, he'd come up and say, "Hey, Joe, how you been, man? How's your family? How's your wife? How's your kids?" A gentleman, always, And you see these guys, some of these guys coming up, and they have their little hissy fits and this and that, and they're different. Look, I know artists are crazy. But Ronnie was a perfect example of a guy who was a great artist, and he was a gentleman, and that's it. And you'll remember him as much for that. If you ever cross paths with him for 2 minutes, you'll remember him he'll touch you as a person. And if you haven't ever met him, he'll always touch you with his music. So
all we're gonna do is keep celebrating our lives and the lives of those who have passed, whether it's our rock stars who we love, our family, our friends. Because I think if you don't really learn from that, and those people who have heavily influenced you, as I said, like whether it's when you picked up the first deal, when it was Heaven and Hell, we were talking about that before, it was like Vogue Display of Power. Honestly, like I was into power metal earlier today. It's like you can go way back with the guys like Dimebag, all these legends that we love, our family, our brothers, our sisters that have fallen. If you forget that for 1 second, then you're just living a bad life. By no means am I saying like, oh, I'm living a good life. I mean, I am. I'm happy because I appreciate all my brothers, all my sisters. I make sure every single day, kind of like you were saying, emulating what Dio did, which is like, oh, how you doing? Like taking care of each other, because without our friends, our family, our metal legends, we're nothing.
Hey, Dimebag was wild and crazy, and he was obviously a guitar god. But at the end of the day, he would take, they always say, oh, he'd give you the shirt off his back. No, Dime would literally give you the shirt off his back. I mean, I've seen him do so many acts of kindness that nobody even knows about. Like he'd see like homeless guys strum their guitar in the street, and he'd sit down and jam with them. And then they throw $100 in the cup. Like that's just, this is the common thread with these people. They're great people and great artists at the same time, So that's, they deserve to be remembered for more than their music, and they have been. So, rest in peace, Ronnie. We love you, and thank God he has left us with all this amazing music, man. Speaking of which, just playing upstairs all night here at Duff's, man, playing Dio all night, and people are chanting Dio all night. It's so cool, man.
The music never dies. I mean, that's one thing that we're always gonna have.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
it's a cliche, but it's true. So I don't care. I always know I can pop in Heaven and Hell. I can pop in a Rainbow CD. I can go back to Elf if I want to. I can put in whatever I want, and always remember Ronnie for the singer and the talent that he was. So thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Always, man.
Thanks
always.
for the support.
Here, my brother in metal, Don Jameson. One more time, one more night of craziness.
Let's do it.
All right. Clap it, and then we're gonna clap it together. 1, 2. All right. We're here at Dust Brooklyn for a night of metal. I mean, all I gotta say is a night of metal. It's always a night of metal for you and I, right? I mean, is there a night that you're not into metal?
Well, no, of course. No, yeah. On Wednesdays, I dig the Jonas Brothers. The rest of the week is metal. But yeah, I mean, obviously, boy bands on a Wednesday, of course.